Hey everybody, welcome again. We've got round two with the J-SAS team. We've got Sais Jenke and we've got Ryan Devere. And we're going to dig in a little bit deeper this time. We had a bit of an intro in the first episode about, why the company exists, what it does, that type of thing. Now we're going to dig into the actual product itself, the solution. How does it work? So welcome, Sais and Ryan. How are you guys doing?
We're doing fine. Thank you,
Hi, good
Adam.
morning, Julian.
All right.
Thank you for the invitation.
It's going to be great. So I'm really looking forward to this. Look, we all know that compliance as a service is the next big mountain, right? That every MSP needs to, cross and climb, right? But it's not an easy mountain, right? It's got some it's pretty high, and it's not as transparent as one would like in the MSP business, right? And compliance obviously is becoming critical to everybody because the whole world is encroaching on lots of compliance issues. And regardless of where you live and work, if you're doing any business or reaching any country where there are compliance and regulations, you are, responsible. So this is why compliance is becoming more and more. And I think we're probably just at the beginning of this phase, right? Because compliance is now, we're digesting it slowly. We're understanding that for compliance, you can't sell to certain companies, you can't sell to certain governments, you can't get insurance. I mean, there's lots of reasons why compliance is becoming big. So putting that aside, let's dig into this. So Sais, kick this off for us. What are we going to be doing and seeing today?
Well, definitely we'll let Ryan, who's our VP of product, guide us through how this product works, how it's set up, how easy it is to work, and how easy MSP can use this product to deliver compliance as a service. So I'll let Ryan start with that, and then we can close it out with some other questions.
Yeah. So yeah, again, if you have questions, I'll reach out with some questions with everybody today. But after this demo, we're going to be talking a bit about it. So Ryan Devere, it's you're up, man. Let's see what this tool can do.
Thank you so much, Julian. So our product ProtectSuite is a SaaS application that we built for MSPs and MSSPs to really allow them to help small and mid-sized companies assess if their security controls are adequate. And the way we do this is by comparing you to a framework, an industry framework. This could be NIST, SOC 2, GDPR. It could even be what are your requirements for your cyber insurance policy that we can compare you to as a framework. Once we compare you to that framework, we use our continuous automated evidence collection. So we continuously scan to see, are you compliant against this framework? And if we find that there's any gaps, then not a problem. We make it very easy to see what exactly that gap is, tell you how to close it to ultimately achieve compliance. And then at the end of this adventure, we're able to have a documented way for you to see and show that you did your due diligence in protecting your company's digital assets.
Hey,
now,
Ryan,
how does it all work?
Before you jump in there, why is that important to have documentation to show that you've actually done the work and you are, you did the compliance, process?
So, when we have our security experts and our MSSPs and our MSPs, they have oftentimes there's a general sense of what we need for cybersecurity. But if you don't have that documented and you're unable to tell the story about why you have your various tools and why you're doing the things you are, it's hard to tell that cohesive story to the C-suite executives and your board, and ultimately your customers as well. So when you have it in a documented way such as this, and we have a step-by-step process to get you to compliance, you're able to show your due diligence to say, yes, I have done everything that is within my power to secure the company's digital assets, to secure our data based against these time-tested and true frameworks.
Yeah, I would also assume that if something does go wrong and, the lawyers are knocking at your doors, you'll be able to show like, hey, you know what? We did our job in compliance. And these days, you can't just say you're compliant. You got to prove that you're compliant, right? So I'm sorry to interrupt you. So carry on, please.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you know what? In your episode 1, yourself and Stace were talking about cyber insurance and the idea that if something were to happen to trigger that policy, one of the first questions that will be asked is, well, were you doing what you said you were going to do at the onset of the policy? So this is one way to show that continuous adherence that you are doing what you said you were. So it makes it that much easier for the policy to get executed and for you to move on from it. So you are able to show your continuous adherence to the framework.
Right on.
So let's get right into how this thing works and how easy it is for MSPs to use it. How we would get you started is create a profile for your company, for your MSP, and then you'll create a profile for your customers. After that, to really make the dashboards and to come to life and to start doing our automated evidence collection or continuous monitoring is we'll have you set up a connector with one of your SaaS applications. So on my screen, you can see that I've chosen for the purpose of this demo to set up our M365 and Azure integration platform integrator. And this is what really pulls back all the data and allows us to do the great work that we can do. Once you set up this connector, and by the way, we ask you to sign in with your username and password one time. And after that, we're using tokens and API calls to collect data. We're not storing any credentials or anything like that. It's tokens that can be revoked at any time should you choose. Once our platform integrator starts collecting the data, the application really comes to life. And this is where I'd like to show you the compliance dashboard. So I mentioned to you that one of the first things we do is compare you to how you're doing to a standard industry framework. In this case, with our test company, they've chosen to align themselves to a SOC 2 framework. So we can see their compliance to that. They're on the journey toward that compliance journey with 51% of their compliance score. And I'll show you how that's calculated in just a couple of minutes. And we give a high level report of where you are. So as an example, SOC 2 isn't just about different configurations in your cloud environment. There's more to it than that, such as corporate policies. So ProtectSuite allows you to store all those corporate policies and distribute it to your employees all within the application. And in this case, we can see how is your staff engaging with the policy. So in this case, it's 30%. So we know that there's work to do. In the various modules that we have, it walks you through this compliance journey. So as an example, we have employee training, we have policy management, those are those corporate policies, internal controls management, risk management, privilege and access review, audit readiness, which I'll take you to next, and the most recent one was employee training, which is a module we launched this week. Once you're here, we really get into aligning to that framework. So let me show you exactly how that works. If you come down to audit readiness, when you're aligning to a framework, the first question is, well, what do I need to do? How do I align to a framework? What is that? We have our built-in, what we call evidence requests that say exactly how you need to align yourself to a framework of your choice. In this case, we have SOC 2, but it could also be cyber insurance. It could be PIPA or PIPEDA, depending on what you're looking for. But in this case, let's stick to SOC 2. Okay. With our application ProtectSuite and our platform integrators, we show you these are all the things that you need. And then when you click on it, in this case, we want a list of all scope application code changes. So with our platform integrators, we can collect evidence on your behalf. So we're showing that due diligence on your behalf by collecting evidence. So this is the thing. When we're talking about a framework, there's a list of things you must adhere to. But then you need to provide evidence to this. That evidence collection can be quite time consuming and in some cases even difficult to do. That's where we can really help you out with our automated evidence collection with our platform integrators. We can automatically go out and collect the evidence for you to show that due diligence that you are doing what you said you were going to do. And to, in some cases, improve your security posture by leveling up and completing what these frameworks are looking for. Now, adhering to a framework is a great goal to have. Some organizations may choose to even formalize that process with an audit as an example. So you can align yourself to SOC 2 or NIST, but perhaps you want to take it the step further and get assessed by an auditor. In this case, we are even set up with an auditor portal. So what that means is that you can have your auditor come right into ProtectSuite, see our audit readiness page with all your evidence that you've collected with our collectors, and they can even comment on it all here. So all the conversation stays right in ProtectSuite. It's all right here. So we're not having conversations in different systems through email, through Slack, through Teams. It all lives right in ProtectSuite for folks to be able to work on it right here. When it comes to our auditor portal, what our companies can do and MSSPs can do is add the external auditor as a user in our system. So we have various roles available, administrator, user, but we do have a dedicated auditor role. So what that means is that the auditor doesn't have access to all of your company data or internal controls if not necessary. They only have access to what they need, and in this case, audit readiness. So the auditor can log in, see all of your evidence and all of the requests. They're able to click on it and view what they need in order to fulfill the audit. And then if they do have any additional questions for you, they can leave their comments right here to then have you communicate and perhaps add additional evidence, or have our integrators collect more on your behalf in order to fulfill the requirement.
Got it. So it's really just about assigning a different type of user, and then you can then have an outside auditor take a look at what's going on to verify it from another pair of eyes, if you will, and then ensure that you're following protocol. Because sometimes you're doing stuff, but you're not quite sure if you've done what you need to get done. And so this a third-party auditor, I guess this would be someone that's from a different organization, right? So that's why you want to limit their access to the data and so on.
That's exactly right. Typically, it would be from an auditing firm that would do the audit. The whole idea here is that you have an idea of what you need to be secure. So things like, I need MFA enabled, perhaps, or I need a disaster recovery plan. But how do you put that in a cohesive story that MSPs can use? And this is where MSSPs can use ProtectSuite as a value add to their customers. This is where they can add compliance as a service to their roster. So they can say, yes, you have all of these tools in place, but how does it all feed up to tell a story? Well, if you align yourself to a framework, like I was saying, maybe NIST or SOC 2, whatever the case may be, you can say, well, we have endpoint protection because that is aligned with industry best practice based on a particular framework that you've chosen that's applicable to your field. Or we've taken certain disaster recovery plans and we've practiced implementing them because that's what it dictates on our cyber insurance policy. So you can track all of that here and tell that story through the compliance dashboard and through evidence collection to show the customer that these are the reports that you can easily generate with just a few clicks of a button with the platform integrators and with the compliance dashboard.
Great. And one thing I may add, Julian, we spoke the last time about the CAST functions, the continual keeping this thing up to date. And what we also have in the product, which we haven't shown really, it allows you to do that. Like privileged access management is one of those routine things you have to do. And that's the ongoing function of CAST. So while you may have the audit readiness and it's a one-time check mark that Ryan is showing you, a point in time, we also have the capabilities within the product to be able to do these tasks on a frequency. So it not only does it get you there the first time, it maintains that activity along the way with the other stuff you see on the left-hand side of the product.
Yeah. That's a really great point, because at some point, right? Okay, yeah, I'm compliant as of today at, 10 o'clock. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
However, things happen, things change. You have new employees, new things happening, new software you're adding. Maybe you switched a BDR provider for backup and disaster recovery or whatever, and you got to ensure you retest that to make sure it's implemented, right? So this is not a static thing; it's very dynamic, right? So how often is it checking? Like, is it like all the time, or is it in real time, or is it checking once a month, once a week? Is there a frequency?
So it runs real time. So it's doing that in the background. So every data point that Ryan showed you in the platform integration page, they have the frequency that you define in order to collect that data to make sure it is consistent. When you define your controls in the control management section on the left-hand side as well, you can determine whether that's an automated control that will run frequently to be able to do that, or that might be just a manual control, like a background check, for example. That's a manual control.
And to your point, Julian, we don't want compliance to be just a check mark, to be just a moment in time task. We want continuous monitoring. continuous compliance, because that's how you're truly going to be safe with your organization as the months go on from your year-to-year audit, as an example. So that's why we have our connector set up for continuous collection, continuous detection of your compliance to a framework. So at any given moment, you can say, how am I doing right now? How secure am I right this second? Something worth mentioning, I believe, through our platform integration is that we have what we call deep M365 integration. So there are some applications that will tell you you have MFA enabled or not, or how many users it's enabled on, and that's good. But there's so much more than that when it comes to cybersecurity. Now, if you really want to get deeper and get real metrics, that's where our deep M365 integration comes into play. We're able to integrate with things like Intune and Defender to look at that endpoint protection and to present you with information such as your Microsoft Secure Score, your M365 Identity Secure Score. And if we find something that is worth addressing, you can click right on it, and then through single sign-on get directed straight into Microsoft to take that action to correct what needs to be done. So you're not jumping around, you are focused on what exactly you need to see, and then you can get to where you need to get to. In this case, the MSSPs, as an example, could do single sign-on straight into their customers' Azure environment and take care of whatever action needs to be required for them. So it's really bringing in that compliance as a service value add to customers.
So Ryan, if I hear you correctly here, so I'm looking at my score in Microsoft and I'm only at 30%. So right now I'm panicking. I'm saying, wow, I should probably be like 100 or 99%. So I can zoom in, right, to that thing, and it will tell me why I'm scoring so low. So here's the 5-6 things, whatever,
that's
that I need to fix. I click on those and it takes me right to that point, and then I can turn those things on or improve it, right? And then
make
as
your
I
configuration
do this,
changes, yes.
And as I come back, that number is going to go from 30 to 50 to 60 and hopefully 100, right?
Exactly.
That's exactly right. And this is live data, so you can continuously monitor this at a cadence that suits you and see exactly where you are. Perhaps you want to check it daily or weekly or whatever the case may be, but you can continuously see, how am I doing right now? And if something pops up, you can take corrective action right away.
All right. Well, let me, one more big question here. So I'm an MSP and I got 100 customers, right? So am I going to be able to click from one customer to the next and I can see all of my customers on the one dashboard, or do I have to create an instance for each person?
So that's a great question. What I'm showing you here is when you drill down to a single customer, but we have our MSSP dashboard that gives you a high level view of all of your 100 customers and gives you the highlights. Where do you need to focus? You can't possibly look at everything at one time, but focus me on what is the most urgent thing I need to look at. So with our MSP dashboard, we show you the high level metrics, such as those secure scores I showed you, such as those compliance scores. And then you can focus your attention and drill down right there to get the nuts and bolts of what's going on with that particular customer. And you can filter and sort, so you know where to spend your time accordingly.
So it's kind of an aggregate, right? So here's my 100 customers, and of my 100 customers, I'm scoring a 70, let's say, right? But maybe there's like 10 customers in there that's like a 10, right? Yeah. That we need to up it so I can get to 99%. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right.
That highlights that. That's correct. So it's multi-tenant as well. So you can drill right into a customer, end up on the screen that Ryan is showing you right now. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, right, MSPs just want to have one dashboard, all my customers plugged in, including themselves, to make sure they're also adhering to the compliance regulations, and then to figure out, which customers are, out of compliance or have a problem, zoom in, fix the problem. And then, for me, if I'm an MSP, right, and I look at my dashboard, my aggregate dashboard, and I'm seeing, 99%, 100%, and I know, hey, I'm on top of my game, right? And it's a great thing, actually, maybe a great selling feature for MSPs to talk about, right, to their customers. Look, we're running at 100%, whatever compliance number that is. So it's a really cool option.
Right, and it also gives you another talking point to say. So why should one of your customers have tool X, Y, and Z? Well, you can now tell the story. You have these tools because it feeds into your cybersecurity journey. Why do you have it? Because a certain framework demands that you have certain controls in place, and this is why you have these tools. So it really allows you to show your value through reporting to say, this is how the tools in our services directly relate to your secure score and make you a more secure organization.
One other thing I'll just like to point out that I think is really cool is that, so I'm an end customer, right? And an MSP is taking care of my compliance. But you know what? Who's checking the MSP to make sure that they're doing it right? So I can get my own external auditor, right? That I can have independent and say, okay, I want you to have some access to the compliance platform. And I want you to monitor the people that's monitoring my platform, right? My compliance. I'm assuming, it can be any independent auditor that I choose as a customer, right?
That's exactly right. And a lot of customers, whether you're selling or you're the buyer, they want trust in who they're doing business with. And a way to do that is through compliance. And if you want to go a step further, getting it audited so it's formalized. So these customers and your trading partners want to know that you are secure. And the way to do that is through compliance against a framework. And in this case, you can get it audited. So at the end, you can have your documentation that says, I am secure as your MSSP. Here's my compliance. This is what I'm compliant against. And I've been audited. So it really shows that you are trustworthy with their sensitive data. Because as MSSPs, you have access to a lot of confidential information. So your customers want to be sure that it is being handled properly and respectfully.
Trust but verify. Sounds good to me.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I want to wrap it up with, first of all, is there anything else that you want to show? Of course, the demo goes much more in depth,
it's more
right?
intense, but I think it's good enough for scratching the surface. It goes deep. I mean, the other point I would emphasize is, we talk a lot about tool sprawl. MSP have a lot of tools and they don't want another tool. So when we build this product, we had that in mind. So it would tap into those systems to bring data of relevance to compliance in one single platform. So you don't have to scour around to go get that data to see what it means in the context of compliance. So as you progress along the way, it will pull data in from your endpoint protection, from your finance systems, wherever you need that data to come together to make sense. So that's another big advantage for MSP, and it gives you that insight into it. So when you talk about the M365 and Microsoft, we pull some of those score, but there's also substance behind that you can go even further to understand, well, what recommendation would drive the improvement from 30%. So you can see, and because you're dealing with, your point, you're an MSP, you have 15, 20, 100 of customers. So you don't want to be jumping to Azure 100 times. So you just can come into a product, you see all the recommendation that's going to require to take you from a 30 to 50, and you can address that, right? So it's one of those value-added things. It's built for MSP because we understand how they work. We understand their pain points in tool sprawl, and trying to make that simple and single platform is one of the values we want to give in this product.
That's right. And MSSPs need multiple products to be able to really do their jobs to the best that they can. And what we designed this for is it not to replace those, because oftentimes organizations have made a capital investment into those products. They're not going to replace them. But what we want to do is make the storytelling easier. So we can sit on top, pull out the relevant data, and then tell you a relevant story in a cohesive way about how are you operating as an MSSP or at the end user and company level, and then be able to allow you to address those needs as they come up, all from one place, to make it very easy and efficient with your time.
Right on. Well, look, every MSP is going to have to do compliance as a service at some point in their life, better sooner rather than later. And what I would suggest is, reach out, get a much more deeper demo, right? Play with the tool, maybe get an account, play around with it to make sure you get the feel for it. It doesn't seem very complicated to me.
We wanted it to be very step-by-step and easy to use, so it's not a lot of difficult onboarding. You can get right in here and get to work and have these dashboards light up. It's got to be simple to use.
It's not to create a make work project here. It's to make life easier for them.
You don't want to make work, man. It's it's to make life easier for sure. Look, I want to end with this, with compliance. My take in compliance is, and I've seen compliance, blowing up everywhere, right? It's just something that is necessary because we all just can't do what we want, right? I mean, it's got to be structured to some degree. This is not the Wild West. You know, we got to bring the whatever doing to the actual structured, and you need to follow a framework. And I think that's standard now. But I think one of the bigger things for MSPs is I would just like to encourage every MSP to lead in with compliance as a topic, right? You can lead in with technologies and AI and digital transformation and all these crazy things. Yeah, they're all good things. But I think beyond cybersecurity, like, are you secure, right? I think compliance is another big question. Are you compliant? Like, do you know if you're compliant?
That's exactly right. And it goes,
yeah.
it can even go beyond a framework, but are you compliant with your organization's corporate policies? For example, we talk a lot about chatbots and ChatGPT recently. In your organization, do you have a ChatGPT and chatbot policy? Are you allowed to use it? Are you not? Is it under some circumstances? So with ProtectSuite, you can really track those policies, those corporate policies about what do we condone as an organization, and then track that employee engagement against it. So have our employees read it and understood it, and then show our compliance against our own internal policies.
Perfect. Makes total sense to me. So lead with compliance, lead with security, right? These are things that opens up the doors. And honestly, I really believe that these types of things like compliance as a service and cybersecurity in particular as well, these things makes you more stickier with your customers. Like once you're doing this, your customers are going to have a much harder time to change providers. And because you're doing the right service. You know, you're doing the right things to protect your clients. So that's it for me, man. Anything else you want to add? What's the website, by the way, to book a demo and learn more?
To book a demo, you can visit our website at j-sas.com, jsas.com, and we have a button right there to book a demo, same day, next day, whenever you're available.
Perfect. Good stuff. Well, keep us posted. We'll do an episode 3 at some point and talk about how the customers are using it. And what's the outcome? So stay tuned. Great stuff, man. Congrats. Awesome.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you, Julian.
Right.